All right, YouTube, what is up? Just got back from pre-running the Baja 1000 like a week ago. Had a blast, took down the Pro R. It's like the first time I've really got to like put some serious miles on it. I think it had about 200 miles on it before we went down. I did a couple of rides, did some rock crawling in it, which was fun. I've been to the dunes a little bit. I've done a little bit of desert. But not like a ton of riding. I just haven't, I don't know, I hadn't got out and done too much riding it. So a little bit of mountains. I've done a little bit. I'd like to do some more, but Baja pre-running, you know, we got 1,000 miles. So I went from like 200 miles to like 1,100 miles in 4 days. So we were riding over 200 miles a day of some of the nastiest terrain. It varies a lot, and it's just the ultimate test for any side-by-side, and it will expose any weakness on your machine. You know, I've done down there with the Turbo S and the X3, so 2 years with the X3, I think 3 years with my Polaris, and awesome. Both of them were good, but by the time I got home, they needed a lot of prepping. You know, I had to go through, do all my bearings and check axles, and just everything was loose. I had to rebuild suspension, you know, do a lot of things on the Turbo S and the Can-Am, both of them. So this year we had 4 of us down there. We had 3 Pro Rs, 2 4-seaters, 1 2-seater, and we had my old X3 that I sold to a buddy. And it did great, but it is the one that broke down. None of the Pro Rs broke down. So pretty amazing. So anyways, I made a list. I thought I'd do a review now that I've got some real miles on it, and just kind of go over and talk about all the things in the Pro R, and I'll just say I'm super impressed. One of the main reasons why I bought the Pro R was durability. I knew it wasn't necessarily like that much more power being an NA motor, but I wanted toughness. So just the overall durability of the machine, like where the A-arms mount, the steel is so much thicker. So everything is just tougher, bigger bolts, better bushings, bigger radius rods. Everything is just a step up. You know, the stock arms, I don't know why you'd change them. As of right now, with how much time I put on this thing and how good they lasted, I don't know why you'd change the suspension arms. But yeah, just the chassis thickness and the bigger bolts is something that I appreciate coming from the Turbo S, where I had to reinforce everything and weld washers and do all kinds of stuff. I love the stock cage. You know, I'm not sure how strong it is, but I love it. I love that it's radiused on the 2-seater. I don't think the 4-seater is, but on the 2-seater it's awesome. So I'm a big guy, this machine is huge, and there's so much room in the cockpit, and I just love stock cage. I think it's badass, and I would say it's probably good enough for at least one rollover, hopefully. But yeah, as of right now, I don't think I'm gonna change it. Maybe, I don't know, aftermarket cages are cool, but I really like the design. I'll just say that, I like the design of the stock cage. It's really cool. Suspension. So the most important thing on any side-by-side, especially if you like desert riding, is suspension. You know, we go and do 800-900 miles of whoops and crazy rocks and ruts, and it's just insane. Your suspension's working so hard. Unlike other rides on Baja, you will literally go for hours on end not giving your machine a break. And so those parts are just getting hot, and I have all my suspension is redone. I don't think you have to do everything that I did. Maybe just a spring set. Stock suspension's pretty good, but dude, if you want the best, you want desert speed. Anyway, so I've got different forks on the bottom. I've got the AGM sliders for the springs. I've got a better set of springs, all new valving, bump stops, all that stuff. So Matt hooked me up at desert speed. The suspension was amazing down there. I never hit, you know, on the Polaris and the Can-Am, I'd hit the back. I was like trying to bottom this thing out, and it just wouldn't. I don't know if it's just the chassis design and the suspension. It was incredible. And like over the rocks was amazing. So yeah, suspension, it's the best that I've ever felt. And so I have all the good valving, good springs, it's all redone now. And then you have the dynamics, and it just works amazing. It's crazy how stable the machine is. I guess that's partly because it's 74-inch wide, so it's wider, and you just fly through stuff. You keep comfort, but then when it gets nasty, it stiffens up. And I'm just really impressed with the suspension. I think that's one of the main things you're paying for on the Turbo R and the Pro R, and I think it is incredible. Let's see. Wheel bearings and brakes. So like I said, when I came back on an X3 or a Turbo S, my wheel bearings were all shot, and it's a pain in the ass. You're pulling off hubs, you gotta press them in and out, and that's definitely something that I was super excited about this machine, is having like a full hub that's like an automotive hub, and it's so much stronger. I just had it on the lift. They are tight as can be. I just did 1,000 miles of the most brutal riding, nonstop, and the wheel bearings are perfect. And so super stoked about that. It's just got so much more durability. You know, if you're a racer, I would consider this machine is a lot closer to a Class 10. So if you don't know what a Class 10 is, it's a really tough buggy that's got good suspension, that's limited on horsepower. And this feels like a badass Class 10 with all-wheel drive and parts that you can buy off the shelf. So super impressed with the wheel bearings. You know, it's a funny thing to like care about, but when you ride hard, you do those pre-runs, it sucks if your wheel bearings are going out, your wheels are gonna fall off, and everything's just sloppy, and they stayed tight the whole time, and it was just awesome. The next thing would be the brakes. The brakes were incredible. You know, you can drive fast if you have confidence in your brakes, and I did. Everywhere, when we were out there, you know, you'd see a rock or a ditch, and you knew you'd get on those brakes and it was gonna stop, and then you could get on the throttle, and I could just drive so much better knowing my brakes are gonna do what I wanted them to do, and they were epic. Like, it's a huge upgrade over a Turbo S or an X3. X3 brakes especially are bad. So, incredible braking. So I really, really, really love that. I mean, it's best on the market by far. My wheel and tire setup. So I've got some Method wheels with a Toyo 35 950 15. The stock wheels I think are okay on the Polaris, but I wanted the bead grip wheels. So it's not a bead lock, it's a bead grip, but it worked perfectly, no issues. Flying into corners, like trying to pop the bead, they worked awesome. And the Toyo 35s, you probably have your BFG or a Toyo that are really good, and I'm super impressed with the Toyo tires. No flats, and really good wear. Like, I beat the crap out of them and they still look pretty dang good after 1,000 miles. So this machine was made for 35s. And the fact the wheel bearings lasted as good as they did with a 35-inch tire just says a lot about the strength of this machine. But I do believe they engineered this for a 35-inch tire. I don't know why it came with 32s. The ride command. So I think 2017 was the first time they did, actually I'm not sure when ride command came out. I know dynamics was in 2017, but I don't know if that was ride command too. Anyways, I've never used it a ton. I've always really liked it. This car has a radio, and it has the ride command. You have your cameras, which I really enjoy. But I never really used like the GPS or the group ride feature. We were able to load in the Baja 1000 map on the stock ride command and link up through the antenna with the two other Pro Rs, and it was so awesome. We kept a really good pace throughout the day because I knew exactly where my buddies were. I had the map up. It was just, I mean, that saves you, you know, a couple grand in a GPS and all this wiring. Like, it worked incredible. So super impressed with the ride command. Really loved the group ride feature with the antenna. I always knew where those guys were. I didn't have to slow down and wait or wonder. You know, we had our comms, and it was incredible. It blew me away. Everybody absolutely loved it, and especially down in Baja, it was like a huge plus to have that. To be able to download the GPS file, put it in the ride command was insane. Engine and transmission. Another thing that I loved about this, you know, I didn't blow a ton of belts on my Turbo S, but I did drive with some caution. You know, I always was like, be nice to the belt. And I felt like with this machine, because it doesn't make all that turbo torque, and it has a better transmission and a better clutches and a bigger belt, I felt super confident in the belt. We never had, not one Pro R had a belt problem. And I punched it in and out of every corner and just ripped as much as I wanted to, and it felt awesome. So super stoked on the belt. The one thing I'd say is, like, with all the cool tech they have, I'm not sure why they just didn't throw a belt temp gauge in the ride command. I feel like it'd be super easy to do, and you know, if it's $100 more for a sensor, like, let's do it. That'd be freaking awesome. But For me, at sea level, it's all stock clutching. I thought the clutching was good. Yeah, it was great. In fact, my friend had his car clutched, and I don't think it was right. I think the stock clutching was better. But definitely down at sea level in Baja, clutching was spot on. Even with 35s, it was ripping, and I was super stoked on it. Axles are tight, so stock axles are great. The diffs are so beefy. I just had so much confidence in the drivetrain. The transmission is huge. And you have these automotive drive lines. I did get like a small vibration, I think, in my front drive line by the end of the trip. I think it's a U-joint. It should be like 80 bucks. It wasn't bad, but that's the one, out of all the Pro Rs, I'm the only one that had a small problem with that. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I'll get it fixed, but it should be pretty cheap. That's the only problem I had. Literally everything is tight, like ball joints, hubs, tie rods, suspension bolts, everything is tight. Everything where it connects the frame is just tight as can be, which that's a first after pre-running. Great cooling. The car the temperature was great down there. It was about 70 degrees, so it wasn't super hot, and we were always hauling ass, but the thing just stayed super cool. Has that huge radiator up front, and seems like it was engineered very well. I love how versatile the machine is. The little bit of rock crawling that I've done, it has a way better low range over like a Turbo S, and it's just a beast. It goes anywhere. You have great like approach and descent angles. It's incredible. So the machine is so versatile, and I love the new low range. It's awesome. It has an alternator and 2 batteries. So you have 2 batteries under this driver's seat, and you have a huge alternator. You can run whatever you want. You can put a huge system in it. You can run a crap load of lights. You can do whatever you want. And that is such a big deal. Like the Can-Ams only had a 450 watt stator. And I think in the Turbo S, they finally got to like a 900 watt. But this is like, I think it's 1800 watts or something, or yeah, I think it's like 1800. It's tons. You'll never run out of power. You can run whatever you want in this machine. That alternator is freaking awesome. The power steering. So going through these crazy whoop sections, stuff that I have to roll in the Turbo S and the X3, I could just with the 35 and the Pro R suspension, we were hitting them at 65 miles an hour, and having awesome beefy tie rods and great steering that I could hold on to through this crazy terrain just made all the difference in the world. I love the power steering. It is amazing. Let's see. So I've added a few accessories. I put on a bumper. I did some lights, a front bumper. I did radios, and I was super stoked over my Turbo S how easy it was to wire up everything. So you just lift, it's just under here you have a bus bar, and you have like 6 slots, all your power, and it was incredible. And I love that Polaris thought about that. They had a port in the firewall to pull wires through. It was super easy to wire it up. So really, really like how easy that was. Let's see. I'm stoked to service it. I bought a few tools. Everything looks like it has really good access. You have your oil filter on the back. It seems very easy to service. It's not too hard to get to your clutch and your air filter. It's 10 minutes. There's a bolt that you just want to take out and leave out on your clutch cover, and then it makes it super easy. But not hard at all. Get into that air filter, and it's just everything is easy to service on the motor and the trans and the diffs. And you have Zerk fittings on all your drive lines and U-joints to keep them good. So I'm stoked on servicing. I'll do a service video. Now that I'm back, I need to go through and service everything. Seats and seat belts. I wanted to change the seats, and I could not find a good bracket that would allow me to have the seat to be able to come in and out with the stock like setup. So I left the stock seats in, and honestly, they were okay for stock seats, not too bad. Stock doors are okay. I do like the vent in the door. In the summer, there is some heat in the cab, and so it's nice having this vent on this door. You know, everybody buys the cool metal door, seals it off, and it gets hot in there. So it was nice to have that, and the seats were okay. You know, they're okay. I think that's something I want to upgrade. Seat belts are good for recreational riding. But down in Baja, because they were adjustable, they started to wear our shoulders pretty bad because you're going through whoops and you're moving and they're just rubbing you. So I think some good PRP or some kind of nice seat belts that were static that you can get a good pad on and just tighten down is going to be better for pre-running. So I probably will upgrade them, but for every day, just light riding, honestly, the seat belts aren't bad. The seats aren't bad. They're pretty good. A lot more space over my Turbo S. I've got a couple door bags. We have the glove boxes. There is a nice pocket in the center tunnel where I fit like a really awesome toolkit. You've got your whole bed. So much more room over the old two-seater. You know, my old two-seater was like it was 90 inches. And I think this is like 110 or something lengthwise. So much more room. I like the two-seaters. A lot of guys like the four-seaters, but the two-seaters, the problem is you do have to like think about where you're putting everything. So yeah, I love that. I was able to put 17 gallons of gas in the back for pre-running and it worked awesome. So I love how much more comfortable the cab is and everything on this newer chassis is awesome. Let's talk about a couple downsides. There's not much. It's a little rattly. So I want to go through and try to figure out what's rattling and try to like tighten it up, put some felt in there or something and get everything a little bit tighter. So fit and finish could be just a titch better, but overall it's good. And then the main thing is it doesn't get the greatest gas mileage being a 2-liter, which I'm okay with, but the gas tank's too small. So out there, you know, you're flying out there, you're getting 5 to 6 miles a gallon when you're hauling ass, and you have a 12-gallon tank. So you're talking like 60, 70 miles and you have to fill up. So I think it's okay if it's getting, you know, because we're at like race paces, it's okay if it doesn't get the best gas mileage, but you have to have a bigger tank in the car. So I don't know if players can think about that in the next year and try to get a little bit bigger tank, but 12 gallons just isn't enough. So yeah, that's it. That's my real review on the Pro R. It is the best machine on the market in the desert for sure. The motor, at first, before I went pre-running, I was like, I'm not sure. Down there at sea level in the desert, it was incredible. I felt like it always had another gear and just torque whatever I wanted it. And it reminded me of naturally aspirated cars and it was just freaking awesome and I fell in love with it. In the dunes at higher elevation, it's, you know, that's where maybe some of the turbo cars that are lighter, you know, the Can-Am that's lighter with good power is probably pretty awesome in the dunes. I think the suspension and wheelbase is better in this, but man, the motor in the desert was incredible. And I felt like I was never beating it. I felt like it was always just good. You know, it's a 2-liter, like basically a car engine, and it's only on a, you know, a 2,300 pound machine, which isn't a lot, honestly, for that motor. And it just did great. So I'm in love with it now. I wasn't sure at first, but in the desert, it absolutely kicks butt. So suspension, wheelbase, comfort, toughness, badass motor, badass transmission, better diffs, like everything that I hoped it was, it really is. And I was super scared to go down there and have stuff break, because you never know. And I didn't beef with anything besides changing the suspension, but everything is stock. So all stock bushings, all stock ball joints, tie rods, radius rods, you know, everything is stock and it all held together. And we were driving fast. And so anyways, that's my kind of, you know, 1,000 mile, 1,100 mile review on the Pro R. It is the best on the market in the desert. In the dunes, I think it's good. I think, you know, the dune guys, you're gonna have some power upgrades you can do and it'll be even better. But man, I never wanted more power down there. It was incredible, snappy, and just reliable. I think that's just tough and reliable, so I'm stoked. Anyways, guys, hopefully I'll get up some more videos. I'll try to get up the pre-running videos. I hope everybody's doing good, but yeah, it's the bomb. I recommend. All right, guys, see you on the next one.